Alright, welcome back. So in this video I'm going to cover typecasting. So what is typecasting? Well, typecasting is a way to basically check the type of an instance that comes in, or you can treat that instance as a totally different class or class type or superclass or subclass type from somewhere else in its own hierarchy. So there's basically two operators that you can use for typecasting. The first one is, and the other one is as. In this video I'm going to cover is, of course, but as I'm only going to cover the optional version of as, and then in another video I'll cover as bang or as exclamation point, which force unwraps the value and then immediately changes it to a different type. And the reason why I'm going to separate these two apart from each other is because I believe a kind of real-world example is a better way to show you the difference between as the optional and as the unwrapper, as a forced unwrapper. So this first example, really what I want to do is that I'm just going to do something really simple, and we're going to create a superclass and then give it a couple of subclasses. So I'm going to create a couple of vehicles, not videos, vehicles. So I'm going to use vehicles as my superclass, and every vehicle has certain characteristics, so I'm going to do a couple. First I'm going to do fuel type, because most vehicles have some type of fuel type. They're propelled in some form or fashion. The second one I'm going to do is wheels, so wheel number, because every vehicle tends to have different wheel numbers, or contains a certain number of wheels, I should say. And then I'm going to do brand, just to make it easy to differentiate one brand from another. Now I'm going to go ahead and initialize. Now, as a little note to you, if you don't understand what I'm doing here as far as initialization, go ahead and pause this video and go and see my videos on initialization, because I'm not going to go into detail about how to do this. I'm just going to jump in, all right? So let's go ahead and initialize our properties here. So we do fuel type, which is type string, and the wheel number, which is of type int, and then brand, which is of type string, and then do self, do an order, fuel type equals fuel type, self wheel number equals wheel number, self brand equals brand. Alright, so we have a wonderful little class here. So let's go ahead and create some subclasses based off of that. So we have some different vehicle types that we can do, but what I'm going to do is car. And it's also going to inherit everything from vehicle. But I'm going to add an additional variable here. I'm going to do model, the model name, because most cars do have model names. But if they don't, or if they do, we at least have that variable available to us. Alright, so let's go ahead and initialize and do exactly the same thing above. String, wheel number, int, brand string, and then we'll bring in our subclasses variable, or should say property model, which is also type string. Oops, string. Alright, so go ahead and initialize our model first, and then our superclasses properties, which is fuel type and wheel number and brand. Okay, let's go ahead and create one more subclass. And did I make a mistake here? Oh, I did int. I'm sorry, I meant to do this as string. That is the problem. All right, that's what happens when you have conflicting types. All right, so I'm gonna do bicycle here. Yes, a bicycle is considered a vehicle. So as a little hint, please share the road. All right, let's go ahead and do a different property here. I'm going to do gear number because usually every bike has a different gear number. And I just want to make sure that I account for that. We also have panniers too, but if you want to add panniers, go ahead. Because some bikes have like the ability to add panniers and like 4 of them or 2 of them or just a basket in front. You know, have fun with it. You don't have to do exactly like me. Definitely try to make your own examples so that you can really get experience and practice with this stuff. And just going to fill in all the properties from the superclass, and I'm going to bring in my subclasses property here. This is int. Oops. All right, so let's go ahead and initialize our gear number. And then all the superclasses properties that were brought in. All right, so there we go. We have the superclass vehicle, and we have 2 subclasses, car and bicycle. Now, usually when we have cars and bikes, we usually will put them in our garage, right? I mean, this also applies if you're, playing a video game like GTA or, where you have a garage for your vehicles. You have to put them somewhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a constant here. We're going to call this constant garage. Actually, let's do a variable. Let's just, pretend like we have the ability to add more cars if we need to, or more vehicles. All right, then we do an array. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a couple instances of car and bike classes, or instances of car and bike. You can have both. So that's what I'm going to do. So let's go ahead and do bicycle. And the fuel type is none. Now I know there's bikes out there that have motors. I understand that. Go ahead and enter that if you want to. I'm not, but I did want to make that available just in case. Just in case someone wanted to add something like that. So I'm going to do trek, and this one is only going to have 1 gear. Yes, it's a fixie. And then I'm going to do car. Uh-oh. Sorry about that. Some weird, crazy error message. Alrighty. So car, I'm going to do electricity. Alright, I'm going to hide this. This is really annoying me right now. Alright, wheel number 4, brand, I'm going to do Tesla. Model, let's do model T, I think. Pretty sure. No, model S. T is Ford. Alright, I'll do bicycle. Let's do a bike. Fuel type. I'll do none again. Wheel 2, brand, I'm going to do Scott. Gear, 10 speed. And I'm going to do the car, because I like doing the car ones. I'm going to do bio, diesel, 4 wheels. Brand is going to be, let's do Volkswagen. And I'm going to do Golf. I think there is a diesel Golf. I'm not sure, I'm assuming. I could be wrong. Alright, now I'm going to do one more car, which is going to take gasoline, but its rule number is 3. And I actually just found out about this brand, it's Ello. And I don't think it has a model number. If it does, you can put the model number in. I don't recall it having a model number when I read about it. But yeah, okay. So, we have this wonderful array of instances. Now you're thinking, well, okay, we have an array. what is the type of garage? Now, if you remember, Swift is really awesome in that it's smart enough to realize, okay, if I have some values coming in, I will default or infer my type from said values. Now you're thinking, okay, well, we have two different types coming in here. We have bike or bicycle, and we have car. What would the type of the garage be? Well, what Swift does is it takes a look at what's coming in and then chooses the commonality between them. And in this case, if we click on garage here, we see that the type of garage is vehicle. So it defaults automatically to the most common class that these instances share. So, I mean, that's great that we can do that, but say if we wanted to, count how many cars we had, or how many bicycles we had, or say, we wanted to do something with all bikes, or all cars. How do we know which is which? Well, that's when we bring in our typecasting, or we bring in our is operator. So we can go through and see, okay, well, if this instance is bike, then I want to do something. Or if this instance is car, I want it to do something else. So that's why you would use this in this case. So let's go ahead and have fun with this. Let's go ahead and create a for loop. Again, if you're not familiar with for loops, pause this video, check out the for loop video, because I'm not going to go into how I do this. So again, if you are unsure about anything, just definitely pause it. Don't get frustrated and just go find info to figure it out and then come back. All right, so I'm going to do a for loop. I'm going to loop through this array, and I'm going to have this loop do something depending on what type it runs into. So let's go ahead and do a for loop. So for vehicle in garage, if vehicle is, this is where we use the is operator, car, then I want it to do something. Else if vehicle is bicycle, I want it to do something else. So that's how you would use it. And now I'm just going to go ahead and do some print statements here, but you can do something fun or funky with this. I'm going to keep this pretty simple, pretty easy. Actually, I'm not going to do a print statement, but you can do a print statement if you want. I'm actually going to create some variables here to count how many vehicles I have, how many cars and how many bikes I have in my garage, because that's important for me to know for some reason. So I'm going to do bike count equals 0, and again, Swift is great at inferring, knows that that is an integer. So car count equals 0. If you're not sure, hold down that option key and hover over, and yep, it is an int, and that's exactly what I want. Alright, so every time this cycles through, I want it to count how many bikes and how many cars I have. So for car, I'm going to do car count, and then I'm going to increment by 1. Now this is where Swift 3 differs from Swift 2 and lower than that, below that. There's no more of this plus plus up here. Before it was plus plus, that is depreciated. That doesn't work anymore. So it'll ask you, hey, this has been removed, use this. So there you go. And then if it's bike, I want to increment by 1 as well. All right, now let's see what the count is. So let's go ahead and print this out. So say my garage contains car count, cars, and bike count, bikes. All right, and there we go. My garage contains 3 cars and 2 bikes, which is absolutely correct. All right, so downcasting. Now downcasting, basically what it does, it looks at a constant or variable of a certain class, and if it may, or it could refer to an instance behind the scene, it will, and you don't know the case, you can downcast it to its subclass type using the typecast operator as. So there are two flavors of this. One is as the optional. Basically, it will take a look at the type or the value, and before it unwraps it, it checks it first. So if you remember optionals, it's a safe way to go. Whereas as bang or as exclamation point, it doesn't check. It immediately takes a value and immediately makes it that type. Now, force unwrap is awesome and great if you are absolutely certain that it will unwrap successfully every single time it is used. All right, you have to be absolutely positively sure that the downcast to the type that you want to downcast to will be successful every single time. Now, what I am going to do is I'm actually going to show you the optional version in this video, and then in my next video I'll show you a more real-life version of using the force unwrap and kind of how you would use that in a way. It's not going to be totally real life, but it will be based off of JSON, you know, where you look at a file, a JSON file, or if your app is looking at some data that comes in that's supposed to be JSON, and how you can work with it to get it to work how you want. It's not going to be an exact example, but we are going to use that data, if that makes sense. All right, so let's jump in. So we're going to use the conditional form of as, and we're just going to take the same example from above. We're going to go through our garage and do certain things based on the type they are. So let's do another for loop. So for vehicle in garage, we're going to do some soft unwrapping. No, we're going to use the conditional form, which will return an optional. So let's go ahead and do if let. So if let car equal vehicle as question mark car, because the vehicle that comes in might not necessarily be a car. So I'm going to say, is this a car? If it is, then do this. So I'm actually just going to do a print statement here. I'm going to say my car brand uses, say, fuel type. Oops, I forgot to do car.fuel type. Fuel. Oh, as fuel. And has car wheel number wheels. Okay, so there we go. And if you see, it went through already. It already went through the array and said, hey, there's 3 instances of car. And so I will do the work inside of this if statement. Now let's go ahead and do something with the bikes. So it will do if let bike equal vehicle as, is it a bicycle? Well, if it is, do this code block. So I'm going to do print. Actually, here I'm going to check something. So I'm going to say if bike gear number is equal to 1, then I want it to say something different. Otherwise, I want it to just do the default print statement. So I'm going to do a default print statement of, let's see, my bike, let's do, sorry, bike brand, I don't know why it deletes that, is a, oh my gosh, bike, gear number, speed, and then if it's something else, something different. So I'm just actually going to copy part of that because I want to say something else. Okay. Do something wrong here? Oh, forgot the parentheses. All right, that worked. So it says my garage contains 3 cars and 2 bikes. My truck is a fixie, which has only 1 gear. My Tesla uses electricity, has fuel, and has 4 wheels. My Scott is a 10-speed. My Volkswagen uses biodiesel as fuel, has 4 wheels, and my Elo uses gasoline as fuel and has 3 wheels. So there we go. All right, so that's kind of how you would use as for downcasting. It's kind of a check. It checks first to say, hey, is this possibly this class? If so, I will return an optional. And it's up to you to do something with said optional. Alright, so in this video I covered a little bit of typecasting. I introduced the is operator and a really simple little fun example. And then I also did an example of the as optional version of typecasting. If this video has helped you at all, please like the video. If you want to, get notification when I upload a video, definitely subscribe. My next video will cover the force unwrapping of as, so stay tuned for that. And until then, my friends, code on.